Six
Hello.
quarterbacks.
Six quarterbacks.
In the top 12.
Unreal. Actually unreal.
It couldn't be going better for Seattle right now.
No.
And 4 skill players. What, 2 tackles, or is it just 1 tackle? 2 tackles.
Yeah. So for people who are listening to our recap episode, what pick are we at right now?
We're at 14 right now. Saints are picking.
Yeah. So obviously the only thing with the quarterbacks going is finding the trade down partner if you wanted to do that. Obviously with Seattle not having a second round pick, it's going to be more difficult, nigh on impossible. They'll have obviously prepared for this eventuality. What it does mean is why we're excited is it's been 13 straight offensive players. It's been crazy. It's the first time in history that's happened. And, you know, you did see a scenario where that could happen, but for it to be 13 in a row is really something. And what it means for Seattle is they have their pick of, they almost get defensive player 1 overall. And Griff, expectations wise or hopes wise, right now, if the medicals are okay, Jason Newton just seems so damn obvious. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I do think he's the best defensive player in the draft, Johnny Newton, but
the medicals.
The medicals, right. And it feels like they're going to try to trade back into the 20s because there's still enough tackles on the board that one of the ones that they want that could switch to guard will still be there, and then they can get that extra day 2 pick.
Yeah. So tackle wise, right now we've seen Oli Fashanu go, Joe Alt go, and JC Latham.
Right. So there's still Fuaga, still Barton, still Fatanu or Fayatnu. And then there's still even like options that are like top 40 players that are there as well.
So how about that, eh? So I've had people quote tweeting my take that in my personal belief, was Michael Penix wasn't a top 10 pick. People have been coming at me for saying that. It's like, that's my grade. I don't know what your problem is. Good for Michael Penix, but wow, that's a shock.
Yeah.
8 to the Falcons. I don't know what they're doing, really. I guess Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. He will be 36. Maybe there's like an understanding with how his career goes after a year or maybe 2. But he's owed, I think he's on $180 million. Like, that's what he's going to make still.
Yeah.
It's just signing him. Penix going to be 24. What is he going to be? 26, 7 when he takes over, and he's got 1 year of his rookie deal left. I guess you have the option with the first round. Just absolutely fascinating seeing how that plays out. But when it came to Penix, I was like, he may need some development in the NFL. I don't want him to be thrust into a spot where he has to be the dude. And I guess in that sense, he's not. But in the picked 8th overall sense, it is putting him in a position which I feel is very lofty. I mean, Bo Nix to the Broncos, comical. Similar thing there. I mean, worse there in the fact that he has to be like as soon as Jarrett Stidham throws a pick, it's going to be Bo Nix, and they're working a wildcat package for him.
Yeah.
Sean Payton has found his new wildcat. Is he a quarterback? Is he the most valuable offensive player in the league?
Yeah.
Right. So what are the Saints doing here? Chat, how are we feeling? Chat, let us know, who do you want to see the Seahawks select? It's crazy to me that the Bears managed to get Odunze and obviously Caleb Williams. Like, what?
Yeah. Good for them. They have an awesome receiver situation right now. So
Shane Waldron. Are you going to start doubting Waldron if it doesn't work year 1 in that kind of setup?
I feel like you'd have to, although I don't know what their O-line is. Well, their O-line is pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So.
But does it matter when you've got someone like Caleb Williams and his ability to make things happen with the plays breaking down?
Yeah.
All varying degrees, right? But yeah, interesting how they've sort of zigged when others have zagged.
Right. Right. Saints pick is in. So, do you feel like they're trading back? I mean, what's your vibe?
I actually tweeted that the way it's gone, I think sticking and picking would be great in the sense that you're going to get your defensive player, your best defensive graded player.
Right.
However, if you do a little trade back, you get a second round pick, and then you get your third or fourth best player, like
Right.
defensive player, then that might be okay. All depends on the grade. And then my
Fuaga.
other thinking is,
Fuaga to the Saints.
okay, interesting. My other thinking is, some of these DBs, like even Arnold, who I watched earlier today, but Cooper DeJean as well. At 16, it feels too rich for me. I like the prospect, but at 16, it's like, really? Are we doing that?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a lot of the corners feel like 20s type players.
right. But when you're a 20s type player, that's getting into the territory that is not an actual first round grade. It's kind of, it could go from 20s to like 40s or 50s even.
Right.
But right now we're with 6 quarterbacks going. We're banging the territory we were talking about before, where we said because Seattle doesn't have that second round pick, but they're at 16 and with now 6 quarterbacks going, that 15 to 20 first round grades that John Schneider spoke about being in the draft every year, they're banging. They're only in the 10s. They're in the 10s right at their pick.
Right.
They're gonna get options at first round graded players. Now, working off that, Griff, say they had 15 first round players. Well, does that mean if they trade down 4 spots, they still get a first round graded player,
Right.
Or maybe they have 20 first round graded players. Does that mean if they trade down 9 spots, they still get a first round graded player? That's what the 6, and this is oversimplified, obviously, because some of those quarterbacks will have had first round grades from Seattle. So you got, I'd say Caleb and, well, it'd be fascinating to see who they had a first round grade on. Jaden Daniels was, the traits are amazing. It's funny that Dan Quinn is on the team which did that. But I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting if Schneider had a first round grade on Daniels. And I wonder how much all these quarterbacks going is kind of a reaction to last year where certain teams maybe felt they missed out on their guy or their guy just went before them. And last year, well, I don't know what I'm saying. But it just seems this year everyone's like, if we've got a quarterback, we're going to take. We've got a guy who we like, we'll just take. Let's not even think it. Let's just take him. And that's how they just go off like that.
Yeah.
And then, again, best defensive players. I see people in the chat saying Latu. Well, Latu's kind of a similar deal here where, he could be the best defensive player, but what's the medical like? That's the thing. We haven't had a defensive player yet, and then some of the better graded ones have like medical concerns.
Yeah.
And could they take Fatanu, Griff? Obviously, we've got the Colts beforehand.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I feel like it's either tackle or corner. I don't think they're going to go D-line. I just don't have I think they have too much roped into there already. Not that you can't still add, but I feel like they think that if they're going to add, they do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, as we wait for this, what's your setup? Are you on like cable or streaming?
I've got ESPN up right now.
Okay, but like on like a television.
Yeah, on the telly.
On the telly, on the box. All right, so I'm doing it via legal streaming. So I'm always going to be slightly behind.
Do you want me to not spoil it then? Because I'm not looking at Twitter. I'm trying to respond to.
It's fine.
A
lot of people advocating Jared Verse, which kind of spoke about how the fit there is kind of questionable, and it just creates a backlog.
It's Edge is awkward with like all of them. It's not like you couldn't talk yourself into it, but it just feels a little weird.
Yep. Man, this coffee is hitting. It's doing good things. Come on, chat. Let us know who you want. And then the other thing with Fatanu as well, Griff, is he's another kind of another medical concern.
Yeah. I don't know if Schneider wants to do that in the first.
No. So the Seahawks account tweeted out a picture of John Schneider on the phone. Don't know when that was taken, but he's been working the phone, as you'd expect.
Yeah. Deanna Rossini says the Falcons called Kirk Cousins when they were on the clock to let him know. From what I learned, Cousins understood a quarterback would be considered, but did not believe his successor would be taken in the first round. I'm told he's a bit stunned. Yikes.
I think everyone was a bit stunned.
Yeah.
So I know what the Colts selection is.
Oh, the corner?
Nope.
Oh. Who?
You want to know? You're so impatient. Chad, do you mind if we're the spoilers?
I saw it, yeah.
Okay.
Leatu Latu.
How do you feel about that then?
Fine. That's fine.
Yeah. That's a cool pick. I'm glad that I always like it when people who have maybe potential medical issues end up getting taken where they should be taken, you know? I mean, he arguably could have gone higher, right, if he didn't have the medicals. But it's nice that he didn't drop out the first or have something bad happen. Yeah. He was such a fun study because he's such a technician, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's really skilled. I mean, he reminds me of Trey Hendrickson. Just so many ways to win ways to win the outside.
That's a nice comp.
And a lot of people had that comp. It's almost like too obvious. Like if you're going to compare him to anyone, it feels like Trey.
Right.
All right, I'm not gonna look at Twitter or anything.
Okay.
If Seattle picks, of course they'll probably trade back.
You should probably click on the right hand side rather than looking at the chat. You should probably click like one of the other buttons so you're hiding it.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm gonna do as well. Authentic reaction here. We're doing this live for a reason, so there you go. So generally, Griff, this is basically every single player that they could have wanted available to them is still available.
Right.
You could say Brock Bowers, but that always felt like
that was always a luxury. Yeah. Wasn't realistic.
Mm-hmm. How interesting. What is going to be the first selection of the Pete Carroll John Schneider era? Was that a text?
No.
It's not a text?
No, that was a notification.
Okay.
If I'm gonna guess here, I'm gonna guess Terrion Arnold. If I'm gonna
so much smoke around that, right?
Yeah, and then that's the only reason why. I'm just going off what others have said.
We also don't know with the new regime, like, is Macdonald a talker? Obviously, Pete Carroll will protect the team, and no team wants to leak stuff. But what if Macdonald tells his wife things and she just tells like a friend, and then it gets out a bit? You know, we don't know this. Could be that Seattle's a bit more leaky than they have been.
Could be 7 minutes, bro. What would excite you the most?
Newton, because it would be like, hey, he's aced the medicals. We got this bolstered interior D line, and I know
he's just a
you
sick
said
player.
That they have some investment there, but he's a great player, and I think his in the NFL with the techniques that he's given and that he'll be allowed to use, right, in the scheme.
Right.
I think it'll just take him to a new level. Like, he can be very, very good. And then you've actually got a strength on the defense.
Yeah.
Like a clear strength.
And
a rotation, and should be able to work from there. So, but if it's not him, I kind of understand.
If it was Murphy, I'd get behind it.
Fatanu would really excite me as well, Griff.
Yeah, Fatanu, Bart. I'm going to be honest. I think Barton's better than Fatanu. I like Fatanu a lot. I don't know. I just think Barton's game is so clean.
Yeah. Well, they're very much opposed in that sense, right?
Yeah. Fatanu mixes it up more, and against lesser talent, he can get away with that. I think it's just more about honing his craft, not like
Yeah.
needing to change, just nail it down better.
Yeah.
Kind of like a pass rusher with a pass rush plan. It's like his protection plan needs to be better put together.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, so I guess if you were going to trade down here, you'd require one of the edge needy teams to do it.
or a team that really wants one of the best of the two defensive tackles, because maybe I don't know.
Right. Or if Newton's sliding, yeah, Murphy's like the clear one, and then yeah, if a team wants that, then they're gonna.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like they're trading back. I think they're sticking and picking.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe they try to, maybe not, but I just think generally it would have been very difficult for them to do it with what we said about the quarterback.
Yeah.
Anyway, how's the weather with you?
The weather is rainy and dreary and cloudy. How about you?
Oh dear. Yeah, a bit wet. There's a corner as I approach my apartment, which lots of snails. That is amazing. There's like 40 snails just chill in that corner where it's moist.
40 snails.
Yeah, I'll take a picture next time. They're all having like a good snail meeting, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel really bad for them because obviously it's quite a hazardous, it's right to the entrance of the apartment complex. So they're going to get trod on. Anyway.
I think I just got spoiled. Shit.
Oh dear. Well, you're not very good at this. We've been doing this for how many years now? 2? 3?
Yeah.
Live draft reactions. I haven't been spoiled.
Now, Matty, the other wild card here is if they try to liquidate a player for picks tomorrow.
If that's the spoiler and your reaction was literally you're a stone cold killer.
Not that.
Oh. What did you say? They trade DK Metcalf? Now?
I feel like Schneider feels like he has to get more picks. He has to. I feel like that's what Schneider thinks.
Oh, so you mean in day 2 it happens? So they
could still do the trade today.
Right. So essentially they pick they essentially pick yeah, right. And if it's a really good player like DK, maybe you can get a future first and then like a second this year. That seems rich though.
Yeah.
You just do it for a second, which again, is like, is that worth doing? I don't know. I hate it.
Pick is in.
Yeah, you're way ahead. I'm still seeing Latu interviewed.
Do you want me to respond or do you want?
Yeah, hell yeah. Why are we live? You've got to respond.
I mean, but do you want me to say who it is though?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. You can be my
Well, we'll try to make a game of it.
You can be my Roger Goodell. Wow, look at this. 1,000 viewers. Thank you so much. Please like the video, subscribe, check us out on YouTube. Retweet the content. Oh, brother.
Come on, man. I'm not going to say the suspense is killing me, but it is annoying me.
I just hope it's someone I've watched.
Yeah, for real. Because I watched a little bit of Arnold. I watched a little bit of Dejean.
Well, like if it's Kenyon Mitchell, it's like, how are we going to get the tape?
Right. I didn't watch Mitchell. I didn't watch Wiggins. I didn't watch Lassiter. I watched like one game of Lassiter because I wasn't focusing on him. I was focusing on the other Georgia players. Right. But I was like, oh, is that Lassiter? Okay, yeah, I see that. Like a play here and there, right? Like I wasn't watching him critically. He just popped out to me. Arnold can definitely play nickel. So the whole Kyle Hamilton role, when people talk about Cooper DeJean and the quote unquote Kyle Hamilton role, it doesn't mean he's switching to safety. It just means he's playing nickel corner and outside corner. his base of operations doesn't have to be safety.
Right.
So you don't have to transition him to safety to allow him to play big nickel, and then you can interchange him with Devin. And ultimately, they're drafting a skill set. They're not drafting college experience. They're drafting a skill set, and they believe in coaching and development and everything. So,
yeah, no, the whole narrative around that is kind of broken. But the picks in and doing that at 16, I would be a bit like, it's a bit rich. So yeah, Newton, Murphy, Fatanal, obviously 2 of those have medical caveats. So, yeah. Was it you who was saying about interior defensive line not being you were like, you didn't think they'd do that because of the investment, right?
I just kind of had last minute thoughts that I think they've got too much roped into it to go day one. But again, like there's still room for airdropping Byron Murphy into here,
Right.
or Johnny Newton, and there's 500, 600 snaps for them day one still. They'll come at you'll have to chip into Reed's snap count a little bit, which might be good for Reed. You have to chew into Draymond Jones' snap count a little bit, which is fine.
And banking on Reed to play at the level he did last year, when he's that old, and not that he's really old, but like it's he's 32, right? That is not that you shouldn't really do that. And also just the way the board is, right? John Schneider, best player available thing.
Right.
They are the best players available. We've talked about how a corner right now is forcing it.
Right.
So 48 miles from adversaries. There you go. Guess we're about to find out.
Yep. Pick is in. Here we go.
Yeah, what does your clock say here?
It's drained all the way down. It just says Seahawks pick is in.
My clock says 6 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think of Eminem, Griff? You a fan of him?
I'm neutral.
Neutral?
I don't have any strong opinions or thoughts about Eminem in the year 2024. All right, here it comes. Here we go.
Wow, we get I've got an Air Force thing.
To our men and women who serve in the United States military, your sacrifices to defend our country's freedom do not go unnoticed. Thank you so much. With the 16th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Byron Murphy. Defensive tackle.
All right.
Nice. That's interesting. So the D-line is a massive strength on the team. Like, massive strength. And if you look at Baltimore, they put a ton of bodies on the interior and rotated them. Obviously, Matty F and Pierce took the line load of that, but they also spoke about repeatedly how Leonard Williams could play anywhere from the 0 to the 5. We might even see Williams play in like the 6 technique if they require it in nickel to play on the tight end.
Yeah.
To then allow Murphy to be your like rush nose. But I almost think Murphy's like a 2i/3 tech, right? But well, he can play a 0 as well. But in nickel, I wonder if he's the 2i in the nickel front.
Yeah, I would think so, because he's
just plug and play him with Reed.
I think you just rotate it. I think you just rotate it. He's not the outside rusher yet on like the outside half of on guards and stuff from 3 technique, but he can be. The power is awesome. And we saw how Jaron Reed got his pass rush production last year. We're just kind of going one-on-one with the guard when they have to set to him because the center's sliding away. It's really awkward, an awkward pass set.
Yep.
We got a lot of his production in college doing that. So, in the Ravens run a similar front than the Seahawks did last year. So it would be pretty seamless as far as trying to like envision that. So it definitely works. I don't think he's as good as Johnny Newton, but he's still really good. So ultimately, I'm all for it.
Right. And kind of a different type of rusher to what Seattle had as well. Kind of interior quicks and yeah, I think stylistically a cool complement to what they have.
Yeah.
Interesting as well, because I don't know how much you want to read into it, but obviously having arms shorter than 33 inches getting taken this high by John Schneider, there's always an exception to the rule, but Schneider's very much been a guy who sticks to those types of thresholds when it comes to D-line and like significant investment. So cool. And do you think he plays? Do you think they ask him to put more weight on, or do you think he just stays at the weight he is and they?
I think he should stay where he is. I think.
Right.
I do worry about him a little bit taking on doubles out of too high when they're down a gap. I don't think he just has the mass for it. I mean, he has to. In college, he was already at maximum effort to get off of some of those doubles because he would get moved, but then he'd use that drop the knee technique and get skinny through it.
Yep.
But I just feel like he won't be able to get away with that as much in the NFL. So, I mean, I hope we see more of him at 3 technique than at 2i, but again, like he can play 2i.
So maybe reads the 2i. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. The other thing with him as well is he was the younger one, right? Like he only turns 22 in September. He's a junior coming out. So plenty of youth and room for a bit more development, and maybe he'll fill out in a slightly different way. I don't know, but yeah, that's a very, very interesting pick. I see someone in the chat mentioning how he took over the game versus UW in the semi-final. I mean, we watched that tape back, and it was like hard to ignore him because we were looking at Jalen Ford as well, the Texas linebacker, and Murphy was just destroying, and really good at reading the center slide, right, Trev?
Yep, indeed.
Like when he had the one-on-one on the guard.
Yeah, he knew when to get vertical. Then he could, when he would get slid to, he was really good at creating space for himself to try to lull the guard to sleep. So he'd sway to the center, get the guard to fall off a little bit, and then get it. Or sometimes the opposite, to make the center think, oh, okay, he's rushing the B gap. I'm going to get my head around to a potential blitzer, and then he comes back into the A. So he definitely knows what he's doing, rushing from the A gap.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're going to get as much production from that spot in the NFL. And ultimately, he needs to project as a 3 technique. So, I mean, really, he kind of is the Draymond Jones replacement in essence, where they have 2-3 techniques they'll be rotating in heavy. And with the addition of, Hankins, that does free him up a little bit. They don't have to play him at 2i if they don't want to. They can play him there only as much as they want to.
So, that Draymond Jones comment, Griff, could he be the one who Seattle tries to move for, say, a 3rd-round pick? Is that too high a pick for him? Probably.
Maybe. Well, it's hard because this contract is hard to move that right now.
Right, it's sort of a next year type thing if you're going to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, because right now the D-line there's significant investment there. And then there's also, even with Jones perhaps not living up to what he was paid, and we weren't as high on him anyway, but not living up to what he was paid last year. But even with that said, there's a lot of talent. So
24 NFL draft.
And Griff, could getting even more overthinking on this, could this also mean 5 down fronts in nickel? Like, are they actually going to play nickel bear?
Yeah.
Which McDonald didn't do in Baltimore. Obviously, Seattle didn't do much of at all last year either to their...
Yeah, the personnel on the team would fit what they did in 2021 really well.
Yeah.
The irony of it.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So Seahawks are probably done for the day.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah.
So as I read that, let's read out some stats. So Murphy, he had 5 sacks in 2023, a sack in 2022, and 2 sacks in 2021. He also had, this is per Sports Reference, he had 8.5 tackles for loss in 2023, 3 tackles for loss in 2022. He was only a starter in his junior year at Texas, but he played all along that line, didn't he? He played 0, 3, 4-eye, bit of 2-eye in even nickel fronts, right? Which is the type of versatility that McDonald will value. Is he, Griff, is he first round Puna Ford?
Did not see this coming.
You know, he reminds me of Grady Jarrett. So, I mean, I feel like the Seahawks just drafted Grady Jarrett. So,
Well, that's cool.
Just another way to save with a personal price tag.
That's very cool.
State Farm is there.
Well then, chat, any questions? What do you want to know about Byron Murphy? Make sure you check out, we did do Texas's defense versus Washington's offense. And we did talk a fair bit about Murphy back then. But the good news as well with this is we actually have, that was a loud noise.
yeah, my dog's wilding out.
Wow. We actually have Texas film. So,
Yes, lots of Texas film, fortunately.
which for D-line, especially when you're trying to look at the end zone, it's quite useful to see that. But Mr. Osas asks, do you all like the pick? Yes, we do like the pick, right, Griff?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's kind of where our mind was in the very beginning of the draft process and that was before all the free agency moves, departures and newcomers. But it was just like turn the D line from a good group into a very good group. And that premise is with Nwosu and they're healthy, right? So you're adding to what the D line was the first half of last year. But then you've also added Leonard Williams to that, and now you're adding Byron Murphy to that. If they all play with their head on straight and healthy, like this can be a very, very good unit. So their pass rush numbers last year, I mean, they were like 10th in pressure rate and like 7th in sack rate. So they sneakily had a good pass rush last year. It just didn't matter because the run defense was so bad and the pass defense fell apart.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah. So some related, I've told you about related viewing, our breakdown of him that we already did. But if you want to understand what sorts of things Mike Macdonald's going to ask of Byron Murphy, the new Seahawks defense tackle, read this SeahawksOnTape.com article by me explaining the defensive front, explaining the types of personnel that Macdonald deploys in that system, or did in Baltimore. But they have some real versatility from their, in base, their projected starting 3, right? Because Williams can play a variety of spots, as they mentioned. Reed can do it. And Murphy can play a bit of nose, a bit of 3, right? So even when it comes to nickel, they could do a bit of that. Griff, could Murphy, I don't know, I think I've seen 1 or 2 snaps, but in an odd front. Could he ever play outside of a tackle?
I don't think I've seen that, no.
No. I think I saw one contain on pass rep where rather than playing on the 4 on the tackle, he plays, he just cheats out to 5.
Yeah.
But that's not his game, is it? But Jaron Reed's got that in his past.
Yes. Yeah, he does. Yeah, it could free up Reed more, right? They just have a lot of different body types at D-line, and each of them talented as well. So this definitely opens up a lot. It's more aggregate talent. And it opens up a lot.
I think it also signifies, just going back to Draymond Jones, it probably signifies that he is a pure outside linebacker, meaning I don't know how often we see him on like neutral downs playing inside anymore. He'll be on the tackle every time. Now,
Right.
if they want to dress up the pass rush rotation and they play him inside, maybe that does happen. But I think he plays way more outside. And I also think with Mike Morris, like his early down fit was going to be inside under Pete Carroll, and then he got like basically injury redshirted. He might go back to being an outside backer like he was with Mike Macdonald at Michigan in 2021. So
Right.
Right. Let's answer a question. Henry, thank you so much for the donation. Always appreciate you, Henry. Would you send DK Metcalf to the Kansas City Chiefs for their first pick 32nd and second round of pick 64?
I think Schneider would. I think Schneider would love to do that. I don't know if they're not going to invest it, if they can't get a big time guard, I almost am wondering, is it worth punting on 2024 in terms of trying to maximize the offense? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a deep guard draft, but when we say deep, it's a bunch of Damian Lewis's and Jonah Jackson's type deep. It's not, there aren't first rounders falling. So
yeah.
And now they're looking at waiting all the way till pick 80 something.
They can't. There's no way.
You're getting into the third shelf of guards.
If they actually do wait that out, then 2024 is a very unusual year from a Seattle perspective.
I just won't get what the plan was for 2024. It's like halfway in of trying to maximize it, halfway in of trying to set up for the future. And you can do both, but I don't feel like they did that well trying to do both things.
Right. Last time we got off air, I said to you, it's kind of milquetoast, right?
Yeah. That's how it feels, and not like bad. It's more like there isn't a.
We're an NFL franchise. We're kind of middling. We're doing the hokey cokey.
Yeah. If you trade DK, you absolutely have to use one of those picks on a guard. But with AJ Brown's contract, does Schneider want to pay him $30 million a year?
Yeah, so that's also the news, right? The broke on draft day, like AJ Brown was traded on draft day, but the Philadelphia Eagles extended AJ Brown on a 3-year, $90 million, or was it more?
Let's look it up.
Let's look it up. Yeah, but AJ Brown got paid
3 years, 96.
96, right? Obviously, not all of that will be guaranteed, but
right. But
that
still,
is what's facing. And do you know what?
APY number.
Do you know what?
What?
To pay DK that, this would be a big year for me, right? But I'd need to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not as good as AJ Brown. That's how it's worth.
He's not. But the way that
that's not how it works. But
no, exactly. The way that it goes off, right? Like he's the guy getting paid after. So I think he would be. I think one team would pay him more than that,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Schneider wants I don't know. Ownership might be scarred with having a bunch of potential dead money at the end of a contract. And I don't know, man.
The other thing with Byron Murphy, of course, is right now the Rams are on the clock at pick 19. They lose Aaron Donald. A lot of people had Murphy mocked to the Rams. Like just as they lost the dynamic interior rusher.
Yeah.
Let's put them a dynamic interior rusher. So, like, there's no. I think if they had been able to do a mini trade down, which I don't think maybe was possible, I'm not sure Murphy would have been there. In fact, I'm sure if they trade down 6 spots, he wouldn't have. He would have still been there. So. So Henry, we didn't really answer your question, but Griff, would you do that?
My instinct says no, even though I think that's fair value. So I think I wouldn't, because I want to see Geno throwing to DK, Jackson Smith and Jigba year 2.
Yeah.
And Tyler one more time. And I want to see them be able to have a healthy O-line. Because I think if that happens, we're just talking healthy.
Yeah.
And that might mean no better than the 22nd or whatever arbitrary cutoff threshold of O-line play. But if they can do that, I think they can vie for like 5, 6, 7 best offense in the league. And I want to see how far that can take you.
This would be robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like
it would.
You'd be getting your guard, but at what cost? And as much as you feel good about Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf in theory should be in his prime, and Tyler Lockett's getting up there. And then what do you have after that? Like, you've got players you might feel okay, like Derek Young. You might, but it's not the same. So
yeah,
Jake Bobo.
Yep. Rams took verse.
Right. So for Newton to, again, we heard that the league may not have been as high on Newton, but I think Newton may be a medical thing.
Well, he broke the 5th metatarsal in his foot, and they're saying that it's really bad.
Yeah, I knew he'd suffered that injury. Yeah, that was but they've said it's really bad. Okay. Oh dear. And I know it's not the same injury, it's not the same type of foot fracture, but you do wonder how much like what happened with Tyree Wilson last year, maybe to the point of it being irrational, but how much that plays on the mind of teams.
Yeah.
Like I said, him and Brayton Fisk, 2 transfers that came into that program and really took it.
Right. So I imagine the late 20s is where these guards start, the interior guys like Graham Barton start going off the board, right? Jackson Powers Johnson, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Please do keep them coming. We've got we've got over 1,500 people. Amazing. I can't talk, I'm so excited.
Now that it's settling in, I am getting a little bummed that they're not going guard, but or tackle to guard convert. But I guess Schneider wasn't bluffing when he said what he said on the radio about how he thinks guards get overdrafted and overpaid.
Well, at 16, Griffith would have been an overdraft.
Yeah.
That's why it was just a funky area to be in, especially with how the 6 quarterbacks went. And then it was first 14 offensive players? It was. Wow. First 14 picks of the draft offensive players. So, and what did we say? We said, don't compound mistakes. Don't force something just because you're in a bad situation in terms of not having a 2nd round pick. Don't do something silly. Just do the smart thing. And
yeah,
I think that's what they've done so far. They've got the hand they've been dealt, and that's that.
Right.
And if you look at like how the San Francisco 49ers built that team, that defense, it was built through the trenches. They had so many first-round picks on their D-line.
Yeah.
They also have 2 really good linebackers, by the way. But maybe Seattle can address that in day 2 with their 1 selection.
Yeah. Man, I really want to know what happens here rest of the way.
Well, the good news is you'll find out.
We shall.
We shall.
I just have a hard time believing their next pick is really going to be, what is it, 84, 81?
Yeah. So do I. Well, because that way you're passing up on the guards that you like in the day 2, like the most in the day 2 region, right? And you're going to miss out on your linebacker. You're
81, yeah.
or at least your preferred linebacker. So we've got a question from Monjombo. If they don't trade again, who do you think they can grab at 81? That's very hard to call, Monjombo, because obviously while you can go through the mock draft sims, the teams will obviously feel differently about that, and each team will, as Schneider said, it gets funkier and funkier as the draft goes on.
Yeah.
But, in terms of like the guard prospects, would say, would a Christian Mahogany be there?
Yeah.
Would a Dominic Pooney?
I mean, they'll definitely be there.
You think at 81?
I think so. It's just, you're talking about getting a guy you hope to be as good as Damian Lewis someday.
Right. And a rookie.
And that's how Schneider rolls. He's fine with having. I mean, Damian Lewis is probably been the best guard throughout the stretch they've had someone at guard for a prolonged period of time during the entire Carroll Schneider era. So theoretically, it shouldn't be that hard to find Damian Lewis's, but it has been for them.
Yes.
I'm really not a fan of Pooney, but
it seemed the more I watched as well, it's all well and good saying, okay, he's big and he's got a wide base, and okay, maybe not left tackle but left guard, and yeah, we saw it at the Senior Bowl, but I would have liked to. I think it's easier said than done for his game.
Yeah, I mean, he plays high and he doesn't have a lot of width to him. I don't think he can get low and move guys. I think he's being talked about being moved to guard just because he's an undersized tackle, but still not sized or composed in a way that is conducive to guard play necessarily. He's kind of like Kelvin Beachum, who was just a small tackle and was serviceable. I don't know, man. Steelers should go receiver here.
It's actually crazy. I forgot, but Seattle signed Jonathan Hankins as well, right? They're absolutely loaded.
Yeah. Right.
Nickel Bear, bring it back. Okay. And Macdonald speaks about how there's all this talk about how Macdonald evolves as a coach, right? And learns and doesn't want to stay the same or call the same system exactly. Maybe he's like, oh crap, the league's actually getting really good at running certain concepts to beat so much of the teams running nickel over even fronts. Let's run 5 down. Let's run a bare front out of nickel. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I saw another good question here.
Ooh, Steelers took Fayotnu.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
AB saying odds that Junior Colson is around at pick 81. I think if our first 2 picks are Murphy and Colson, that's bolstering the defense significantly. AB, I wouldn't count on Colson being there at 81. That seems unlikely. Yeah, he didn't test. Yeah, he has the injury stuff. Well, stuff. He's got a sore groin? It's not the most severe injury, but not testing is like a ding on him when he doesn't look the fastest player on tape. But I mean, his tape is very impressive. He was our linebacker 1, so maybe not the league, but it's very obvious how he'd fit into the NFL compared to, like, I know some people, which we definitely don't, but some people would have, say, a Peyton Wilson ahead of him. By the way, he has medical concerns, but also his fit in the league is a real kind of question mark. So how do you get the best out of him in the NFL? Going to be difficult. Coulson, you just slot him in as your Mike and you go to work. Really good at diagnosing, really smart, very good in contact, has sideline to sideline range, running down plays, huge, has the size that a lot of these linebackers don't have as well. And aware in coverage, just not the top end glitzy, bullet train type flying missile, which is why he's not going to be going in the first round, at least I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coulson at 81 would be a shocker. And I also think even if he's lasting into the third round, there's no way a team doesn't go, hang on, Seattle's at 81, Mike Macdonald, Michigan, he's Coach Coulson. Oh, they need a linebacker. Let's trade above them and snipe. So I just don't see. They'd have to do, if he was lasting, I'd be, and they want him, a small trade up perhaps.
Yeah.
Hands are active. Punch is purposeful all the time. Feet able to do a really good job mirroring. This kid is fun to watch.
Have you seen the question from Twitter, Griff?
No.
Quite a good one.
What question?
It's from our friend, our Oklahoman friend.
Oh. Who is the linebacker you guys want?
No, don't read that out.
Oh, we're not reading it?
I wouldn't.
All right, Mr. Murphy, come on down.
Bryce, if I could ban you, I would.
Do it.
I can't. We can't ban Twitter people.
Cam Hayward himself said that with the guy who they drafted last year, Robert Jones, was the guy who now has become the new bully on the block.
Okay, well. Any more questions, people?
I need another guy like that.
Keep them coming.
Now the question is, you just go ahead and leave him at left.
Griff, at what point do you think it's safe for us to go off air? Because I would wonder about, in terms of like a Metcalf trade, which we have to entertain somewhat. We don't really, but we are doing. I would suggest Buffalo.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only way that it makes sense. Otherwise, it might be for day 2 picks. We'll be streaming round 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll stream round 2. Probably not until a bit midway through it. See what Griff is able to do, but and I'm able to do. But yeah, we'll be live tomorrow as well. And during some round 2. We have to be there for when Junior Coulson gets picked in the second round, and then the linebackers are a bit Now Nate says sell me on Murphy. We talked about Murphy at the start of the show, Nate. So
you can catch it on the replay.
Yeah,
he's good. We like him.
Yeah, he's a good player. Good football player. And also, I think it's significant that he played well against good offensive lines, right? Like big offensive lines, level of comp offensive lines. It's not just winning against air raid O-lines.
Yeah. Miami took Chop Robinson.
Okay.
And
that was someone that some people theorized.
Was it? I didn't know that because they have pass rush. It's not like they're lacking. It is interesting that the Macdonald tree, if you will, drafted that type of player.
What, a speed rusher?
Just like a pure speed end,
Just best pass rusher available, right?
Yeah, probably.
I know I've messed up in the past. Now on there will be $0 delivery fee.
Philly, Jacksonville.
Yeah, and as AB points out in the chat, Jalen Phillips tore his Achilles late
Oh
last year.
yeah.
One sec, just gotta hinge real quick.
Hopefully we're not waiting the whole time.
Hinge 3D. Always works for me. Things are winning now. So simple, so convenient. Weight loss by Hims, boys.
And also, we need to hear from John Schneider and Mike Macdonald afterwards.
Yeah.
Care that's doctor trusted, convenient, and personalized.
True that.
Started today at Hims.com. Far too few.
So, while we're waiting for something to happen, did you see, what did you make of Seahawks official Twitter account tweeting out a walk down the corridor of the BMAC past various pictures and then stopping to stretch by a
Perhaps.
picture of Richard Sherman as the tip picture, and then a video of Mike Macdonald and John Schneider before the draft doing various hand movements, awkward hand movements, while then they were stood in front of the tip picture as well. Drift,
Yeah.
has this, I know you were very upset about the wallpaper scenario, situation, debacle, which
Just
happened.
livid.
But
livid.
has this, I know you were upset, but has this made things better?
I'm sure it quelled the fans that had real concerns. Beyond that, I have no thoughts.
Well, what is really going on in Seattle? Because we were told that there'd be computer screens and TV screens, right? Where are the TVs? I'm just asking questions.
Where are the TVs?
Yeah, and also that video was released by essentially state media. Can we actually trust the video?
Yep. Dude, I just can't stop thinking about how Schneider doesn't have a second round pick.
But he does. He has Leonard Williams.
Listen, man, I really don't want to go into the season with Tyrell Dodson being the starting middle linebacker.
How about going into the season with your starting left guard being Tremaine Ankrum or Laken Tomlinson?
It'll be Laken.
Well, how do you feel about
I
that?
still think they'll try to trade for an established linebacker.
Yeah, it's just when you look at the guys who are in a contract year, there isn't anyone who's that interesting, which is generally their modus operandi.
I think you got it.
Nailed it. Where then they can kind of sign and trade. Andrew, I don't want to hear Andrew, that's your opinion that the TV's in a different hallway. Okay? That's just your opinion. If that's what you want to believe, that's fine. I'll believe what I want to believe, okay? Now, there was another Seahawks topic, Griff. Tyler Lockett is announcing the pick tomorrow. Why would Seattle do that?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I think they just picked their veteran player who's like been with the team the longest and is a good cultural guy, good speaker, cool guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's that.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't think there's anything else going on there. I was just being cheeky earlier.
Cheeky, pesky.
Yeah.
Were you suggesting that perhaps it's to alleviate some upset?
Could be.
Right. The other thing as well about the draft, we should say is the Seahawks are going to be facing Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze in Chicago on the road. That's
That'll
on
be
their
fun.
schedule. So that'll be cool. Bit of a Shane Waldron revenge game. Of course, they also have DJ Moore, so that receiving group is nasty. And
Yeah. Something Corbin Smith just tweeted that is an obvious thought, but I didn't think about it. A way to get more picks tomorrow is to dip into 2025 capital.
yeah, but I mean,
Which
I think we
obviously
said that. Maybe not.
I might have glossed over it.
But if they were to do that, then again, I feel you're almost compounding the mistake because, like, what future? How are you going to get those picks back? You're not. So then, are you giving up a future second to get a third? Like, how are you making that happen?
Yeah.
That's just not a thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it could be a thing, but I just don't think it's the right move. And the other thing is, did you see that the official Seahawks Twitter account? We're not a conspiracy theory podcast, but they tweeted out that the Seahawks players are a lot of them are going abroad. Didn't say where they were going, but they're going abroad for like a training camp. They working remote. The squad is headed out for a training session abroad this weekend. And in the pictures, there's various members of the offense, the offensive line. There's Geno Smith, there's Jackson Smith-Njigba. I didn't see a picture of Tyler Lockett. Well, he's going to be at the draft, so maybe he'll join them later. But also Griff. No picture of DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Very true. Just it's telling the trade is imminent.
There you go.
Falcons fans are beside themselves over taking Penix at 8.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that more? I kind of touched on how I didn't think he was a first round pick.
Well, I mean, I think we both didn't think he was a first round pick, and then also take him 8th overall, especially when you're the Falcons and you just invested everything in Kirk Cousins.
And you had Odunze right there.
You had Odunze right there. I mean,
you could have had Fashanu. I don't know how their O-line.
They could have done a lot of things at 8. And then it's like even if Penix is the quarterback of the future, he might be 28 till he sees the field. It's possible that they don't like Cousins' medical situation with the ACL, but that's still a lot of guaranteed money. A lot.
Yeah.
They have roped into him.
Yeah. Interesting. I just want to cover on the Byron Murphy thing in that article that I referenced that I wrote. The Ravens last year, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with a listed weight over 300 pounds on the interior of their defensive line. 2 of them were over 330 pounds. Travis Jones, 338 pounds. Michael Pierce, 355 pounds. Now, Byron Murphy's just shy of 300 pounds, but I imagine his listed weight in the NFL will be over 300 pounds. Seattle last year, remember, the Ravens had 5 of those guys on the interior over 300 pounds. Seattle last year had just 2 of those people, Jaron Reed and then Cam Young at 304 pounds, the rookie. And then they obviously lost Mike Morris, who'd got to, was he at 290? Or maybe he got to 300, but then he got injured. And then obviously they traded for Leonard Williams. But basically in season, like starting caliber guys, because Cam Young basically struggled to see the field, they had just 2 guys over 300 pounds on the interior. So
yeah,
mass and size does matter. Not that Murphy's style isn't necessarily the biggest type dude, but would you rather have Byron Murphy on the interior taking early down reps in nickel over fronts, or would you rather have Draymond Jones doing it?
Yeah.
Draymond Jones cannot do, like he showed, that's not his game. The combo blocks are a problem. Murphy against combo blocks, he has his way of playing them, he has his style, his drop the knee style, his piercing of them, but he is effective at it, and he was effective at it. So
Yeah. Right.
Right glass.
Players reach the NFL. Elite international athletes
Okay.
have an opportunity
Chat, any other questions?
and potentially earn a spot on our NFL roster.
Monjombo, that is a crazy point. Can you believe that 2 years in a row, the Seahawks got the second defensive player in the draft? Remarkable.
So the Eagles go Quinion Mitchell.
Okay. Well, if it stays like this, Griff, a lot of good players are going to be picked.
Right.
And that's just how it goes. There's the NFL draft.
Indeed.
Thank you, Uncle Roger. Good evening to those of you from the beautiful land down under. With the 22nd pick from the 2024 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Quinion Mitchell.
And this is when with Quinion Mitchell going here, this is the type of range where I thought those corners would start going. And again, why at 16 it just felt like, come on, let's take the best player here. Drift, I'm gonna go get more water. Are you okay with the chat?
Yeah, I might need to go soon, unfortunately. If something happens at 28, I could pop back on.
Well, we can end here. We can
All
wrap
right.
here.
Chat, let's end here, but we might come back if a trade happens, which is unlikely. But
Chat, thank you so much for joining us. Please do like, comment, subscribe, review, follow Griff on Twitter at CMikeSpinMove, follow me on Twitter at Matty F Brown. I'll be posting from the at Seattle Overload Twitter account when we're going live. Next, hopefully you enjoyed this. Let us know if there's ways we can improve it slightly. We're live, so it's pretty good, right? And yeah, we'll be back. If not later, where Seattle does something, which seems unlikely, feels unlikely. You'd think there'd have been a bit more of a rumbling about a DK Metcalf move. There's also the Brandon Ayuk domino, which could fall, isn't there, in terms of maybe tradey players. Obviously, AJ Brown removed from that. Not that they were going to do that, I don't think. Anyway, but if that doesn't happen, we'll be back day 2. Midway through round 2, perhaps, and then it goes a bit quicker, doesn't it? For Seattle's pick at 81, or possibly sooner if they are able to acquire some more assets, because yes, they've got a great player in Byron Murphy, the second at pick 16 overall, but as we knew would happen, when they make that type of decision, there's a big, long wait, and there's a big few ledges, and does Schneider press too hard to correct that? Does he find a way of making it work, which is all right? We'll have to find out. It's going to be fun. Or does he just stay patient? Griff, any closing wisdom?
none whatsoever.
Thank you for the questions. Henry, thanks so much for the donation. Appreciate you, man.